Hey, did you miss me? With a project this big, I did not expect to get it done as fast as I did. I had a lot of issues to work through, and I learned a ton. But first, let me walk you through the final parts of this VENATOR build. Picking up from my last video, I used the updated schematic to begin on the 8 turrets lining the base of the center of the ship, which also made me need to remove a lot of slabs that I had placed previously. The new schematic had a lot more tuff in it, so I ended up going spelunking a few times to get what I needed. The turrets here were pretty easy, the only thing bad about them was the repetition, but at this point, nothing can be worse than the repetition of the living quarters, so this was a breeze. Finishing the turrets marked the end of the exterior, for real now. I barely took the time to take it in though, since the approaching deadline was doing exactly that. So I started work on one of the additional rooms added to the new schematic, a lower docking area beneath the primary hangar. A problem I ran into a lot with these newer rooms was the fact that they would not be lit up, so oftentimes I'd have mobs harassing me for my lunch money, and slowing down my progress overall. Thankfully, creepers were turned into confetti poppers by the server owner, so I was able to avoid any mob griefing. As I neared finishing the main interior of this area, I decided I'd move to the interior rooms of the twin bridges, both sides decorated the exact same, so I just had to build it twice. Both bridges were finished in the same day, after which I took to building the Jedi training room, which you may have seen from Jedi Fallen Order, a game which I have not played, but ignore that. Finishing the training room meant that all interior rooms had been built, which now left me to do the interior decorating. Reluctantly, I moved to the living quarters, which means repetition like you would not believe. I won't dwell on these rooms for long, since it's not nice to look at, but allow me to present some math. There's 84 of these rooms per floor. Multiply that by the amount of floors, 11, makes 924. So I get to do this exact build 924 times. All the other rooms were fine though. I think you get the idea. Moving on. Five days later of living quarters garbo, I finally got to move into the main long hanger, a process I knew would be tedious with so much material diversity, which I then narrowed down so I'd only do the 16 gunships to start, 8 on each side. Once I finished the gunships, I did the 12 Y-Wings, a much simpler build that only took me about an hour total. After that, it was the ever-popular ARC 170s, there being 12 as well, with the build being a tad more tedious, but still no problem. Next up, the only 4 Headhunters, which I smashed out in under 30 minutes. Up next, however, was a bit more of a tedious set, that being the ATTEs and their corresponding dropships. Upon completion of the dropships and gunships, I used frog lights to light up both sets of them, making them far more lively. After that, I quickly built the sets of smaller starships near the end of the hangar. Then I whipped out the medical bay that's between the main hangar and the central hangar with the turbo tanks. Speaking of, welcome to 8 of the biggest sub-builds in this build, repetition out the wazoo. Wrapping up this hangar, I fixed the floor to line up with the turbo tanks, then I got the materials for and built the 8 ATDPs and the 16 ATRTs. 10 days after starting the turbo tanks, I finished up the entire central hangar, and I next made the decision to get the materials to build the massive Consular class cruiser in the ventral hangar, in addition to the new schematic that I didn't have materials for previously. Here at the end, I had just one small thing left to do, the V19 Torrents, something I'd only neglected because I didn't have the materials for them at the time. Having spent nearly an entire year on this project, it's really good to be done now. I am a bit bummed that I ended up doing the side groupling of the old schematic before the new one came out, since the new one has a ton more detail, but for now, at least, I'm just gonna leave it be. Maybe someday in the future I'll come back to it, the very far future. For now though, I'm going to be getting a full time-lapse video put together, and I'll be working on more builds, such as this little sneak peek. Thanks for tagging along on this build with me.